Friends, in this edition of Talk Show, I want to bring to your notice the issues relating to the eradication of poverty in India. Going into the history, during the reign of several kings and queens, people died due to wars and national calamities. It was a rare phenomenon to notice that people die of hunger. But during colonial period under the rule of British, people of India have experienced frequent famines during 18th, 19th and 20th centuries and several thousands of people lost their lives. Famines were common in Orissa, Bengal, Bihar and many other states during those times. Even just before the independence in 1943, the people in Bengal region experienced severe famine and it was estimated that around 3 million people lost their lives. Though such pathetic conditions do not persist in the contemporary India, poverty has become a reality. Against this backdrop, attempt is made in this talk show to bring to the fore the extent of poverty and the inconsistencies in the measurement, the schemes launched to address the issue and the existing reality. Friends, poverty is a contentious issue requiring deeper understanding in terms of definition and measurement. And as per the existing literature, there are two ways of understanding the poverty and the two measurements are brought to the notice of the people of the country. One is based on the income and the other is based on the calorie intake that is required to sustain the life of an individual. According to the World Bank, poverty is a pronounced deprivation in well-being encompassing more than just a lack of income or consumption. It has set an international poverty line of income of dollars 3 per person per day using the 2021 purchasing power parity. And the World Bank always calculates the income levels basing on the purchasing power parity, taking into account the standard of living enjoyed by the people. And as a matter of fact, the United Nations Development Program, what is shortly called the UNDP, has made a comprehensive interpretation of the concept of poverty wherein it states that poverty is not just lack of income but the denial of opportunities and violation of human dignity. And there are several committees that were appointed by the government of India which included Dandekar, Alag, Lakdawala, Tendulkar and Rangarajan. And a majority of these committees have taken the calorie requirement into account and then they decided that a minimum calorie requirement is there for each individual and they identified that is going to be different in case of the rural people and also in case of urban dwellers. For rural people, they have decided that a minimum calorie requirement is around 2400 and for the urban dwellers it is about 2100. So based on this, so if we make an estimate of the extent of poverty in India and the Rangarajan committee has made an estimate in 2011-12 that there are about 36.3 crore of people which accounts for during that population survey 29.5% of the people of the country are really experiencing the poverty. And the World Bank has estimated basing on its calculation of standard of living and the purchasing power parity, it calls it as the international poverty line and it said that according to that there are only 7.52 crore of people as per the 2021 purchasing power parity. And as a matter of fact, a comprehensive attempt has been made by the UNDP and it calls its poverty measurement as the multi-dimensional poverty index. So based on that, it has calculated that India has people suffering from poverty to the extent of 23.4 crore. So these are based on the estimates by different people. But poverty in India appears to be a reality. In order to alleviate this poverty, there were two major schemes that were launched to mitigate this, and the accounts and the calculations of the people that are enjoying these benefits also will show the reality of the existence of poverty in India. The two major such schemes, if we can take into consideration, one is the public distribution system, what is very much known among the people as the PDS. And also the similar popular program is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, that is called MGN Narega. So as per the data of the One Nation, One Ration card, the national portal, there are about 20.22 crore of ration cards that are in the hands of the people, benefiting about 80.48 crore population. So that means the extent of people that are suffering from poverty who were eligible to receive these ration cards are to the extent of 20.22 crore. And as per the National Food Security Act 2013, and it mandates that the governments have an obligation, both the central government and the state governments have an obligation to ensure that 75% of the rural people and 50% of the urban population shall receive subsidized food grains. That means they are eligible to receive these ration cards. That shows that what is the extent of poverty that is so prevailing in the Indian context. Also friends, the second scheme that is under Narega, if we take, so it is mandating that one should be provided with 100 days of employment in order to see that they do not experience the poverty. And under that scheme, job cards are issued to the eligible persons. And if we go into the dashboard of the Narega portal maintained by the Ministry of Rural Development, the total number of job cards issued stood at 15.37 crore, benefiting 26.46 crore workers. So this is really the extent of, we can take this as also another measure of understanding the people that are suffering from poverty. And if we consider the same portal as valid, that portal records the total job cards that are issued as at present 71.16 lakh, and the total workers are at 127.66 lakh crores for the Andhra Pradesh itself. So all these figures testify the fact that poverty is a reality in India. And in fact, if we can take the poverty that is estimated based on the hunger, we can say, I think there is one such estimate that is made by an organization which is called the Global Hunger Index, and India stands at 105, that means 105 out of 127 countries that were surveyed, and the India's score is 27.3. Usually, this global hunger index is calculated on a 100-point scale, where 0 represents the situation of no hunger and the 100 represents the situation of extreme hunger. And if we take in that context, I think it is estimated by the Food and Agricultural Organization that there are about 20 crore people of India that are going to sleep without food, and around 7,000 persons are dying every day due to hunger. So friends, I think this will show us what is the extent of the poverty that is brooding in. And another dimension of the poverty in this context is the increasing gap between the rich and the poor. According to a survey conducted by India Today, that is dated very recently in this month of July, on July 3rd, 2025, the top 1% of the population hold 40% of the wealth of the country, whereas the bottom 50% of the people own only 6.4% of the wealth. In terms of incomes also, the top 10% of the population earn 57.7% of the national income. Based on these facts, the survey report has made a pungent remark that income inequality in India is now worse than it was under British rule. The World Inequity Lab, an independent agency of experts, also commented that the billionaire rise in India is on the rise. according to the Huron Global Rich 2025 survey report, and this is taken as authentic in terms of the number of millionaires and the number of billionaires that are there in the world, and it has made an estimate that India has 284 billionaires and whose total wealth is about 98 lakh crore. So this is showing the gap between the haves and then the have-nots. And the same, a special report has been brought out by the Human Development, UNDP, under the Human Development Report, which is published every year to show the human development that is happening across the globe. And then it also has conducted a special study on the rising inequality in India, and particularly in terms of income and gender disparities. It has pointed out that the poorest 40% of the population of India has an income share of 20.2%, whereas the richest 10% hold 25.5%. So according to data of the report, population living under multi-dimensional poverty, which is the UNDP's measurement of the poverty, extent of poverty in any country, and the population in suffering from this, under this is 16.4%, whereas 4.2% of them are said to be under severe poverty. So citing the data of the World Bank, the Government of India recently has come out with a press release through the Press Information Bureau, and it puts the story of inequality on a positive note, stating that India is among the world's most equal societies, and India ranks fourth globally in income inequality with a Gini index score of 25.5. And in fact, this score is used to measure the difference, or rather deviation, between the two variables, and that is in this case varying from 0 to 1. So 0 states or reflects that there is no inequality, that means all are equal. 1 is going to show that is the extent of extreme inequality. And India's score in this context on this measurement is 25.5. That means almost 1/4 it is showing. But still, so the press release claims that the equality that is achieved in terms of the incomes and also in terms of the wealth of the people is said to be that it has come down like anything, and we are in a case of where so mitigating the poverty, and the poverty has been coming down significantly. It is also stating that extreme poverty dropped to 2.3% in 2022-23. So these figures and the reality appear to be very perplexing. And if we take the reports of the Government of India only, according to 2011 census of India, there were approximately 65 million people living in slums, spread across 1.08 lakh blocks in India. The report also notes that between 2001 and 2011, usually you are aware that population census are conducted once in 10 years, and the present population census has not been completely taken up yet, and then it should have been conducted in 2021, but it has not been done. But that is why we are required to take for any studies only 2011 population. So according to this, the report states that between 2001 and 2011, there was an increase in the slum population. This figure is now in 2025 is put at 262 million. That is, we can say 26.22 crore of the people, as per the Business Insider Africa, a global agency working on these aspects. As a matter of fact, the Census of India defines the slum based on the factors like housing quality, sanitation, and access to basic amenities. I think many of you might have viewed the movie that became very popular, that which is based on the slum dwelling position in the name of Slumdog Millionaire, produced in 2008. So depicted the life in one of the biggest slums of India, that is Bombay. It's a matter of augury that it bagged 8 Oscar awards at the 81st Academy Awards ceremony. Though it is a fictional film based on the novel written by Vikas Swaroop, the plight of poverty and resilience are well depicted in this film. Viewed at the philosophical level and in reality, many a time the line between the fact and the fiction is very thin. Thus, one needs to understand the concept of poverty from this point of view. And there have been attempts made as I have told by introduction of some of the schemes which ensure the food grains to the people and also attempts to mitigate the poverty, but still poverty has been a reality. And one such experiment that has been made across the globe and then particularly suggested to the developing countries by the famous economists that have secured the Nobel Prize in 2009. So, Esther Duflo, Abhijit Banerjee, and Michael Kremer, for their experimental approach towards alleviating global poverty, they have suggested every developing economy which has been experiencing the extreme poverty conditions to establish poverty action labs. And in fact, they have also been conducting experiments on the basis of this what is called poverty action lab. And one such lab they have conducted, and then that is named after Abdul Latif Jameel Poverty Action Lab. So, in fact, it is consisting of a network of about 500 researchers around the world, and that would be suggesting and recommending the measures that are needed for mitigating the poverty in these countries. And India also should take a cue from this, and it is a matter of gratification that the Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India has signed an MOU with the South Asia wing of this JPOL and signed this agreement on March 15, 2024. And in fact, the government of Andhra Pradesh very recently has also come out with another model of eradicating the poverty in the state by trying to introduce a new scheme called Zero Poverty P4 policy. And actually, Triple P, public private partnership, is known to many people, and now they wanted to add another P representing the people. Now the triple 4 P scheme, it becomes the P4 scheme becomes public and again people private partnership. The scheme proposes that the top 10% of the economically rich persons will handhold the bottom 20% of the underprivileged and then destitute people, and thus try to mitigate the poverty. And the former group is named as the Margadarshis or guides or mentors, and the latter group is known as the golden families, that is in Telugu said to be Bangaru Kutumbams. And the program is designed to be a model of adoption of families to sustain long-term relationship. And the government hoped that this kind of a model of eradicating poverty would pierce into the people and that it would produce results. And the government of Andhra Pradesh has targeted about 15 lakh golden families and about 1 lakh Margadarshis by August 15, 2025. That means the period very short, and we are going to experience it in a few days. But the actual realization of the targets is not quite encouraging. As per the latest information that is up to 12th July 2025 that is available, the number of Margadarshis identified are only 18,332, and the golden families number is only 1,84,134. That means we are far short of in terms of identifying the golden families and also in terms of the people that can act as Margadarshis. So in this context, I think we have to see that whether to what extent that poverty in India would be eliminated and how many these Margadarshis would come forward to take up the cause of the elimination of poverty in India and particularly in the state. And here I think the government of Andhra Pradesh also is expecting that people would participate in such a large measure and see that the scheme is going to be successful, and the government is expecting that this would be a model scheme to be emulated by all other states, and we have to see how this is going to produce results in the years to come. So in this context, I wish the listeners to notice that the poverty is a reality in India, and there is a lot of work that is expected to be done in eradicating this. But we go into the promises that are made by the parties in power, and also the other parties that expecting the power, that they will not be able to wipe out any of the welfare schemes which are aimed at the people below the poverty line. And people living under the poverty line or below the poverty line is a reality. I think the subject needs to be understood thoroughly and in a more serious manner. Thank you very much.